back doing that. Hey, we're live again. Oh, there we go. There's that.
Jesus.
Hey, it's not my fault. He's saying that he wants to hear it out there, so make sure we hear it out there.
There we go.
We're back live at AHR in the Windy City. Back with Brett Wetzel, Kevin Compass, and Joe Freese. Joe, how long you been with Parker Sportland, and how long you been in the refrigeration realm, refrigeration HVAC?
So I've been in Sportland for 17 years. So I started as product engineer. Was that for 5 or 6 years. Then went into some engineering management, and then now I've been the product manager the last 3 years. And that's where I really got into more of the refrigeration applications, product development type stuff on CO2 and those types of systems.
So how long have you been working on some of the valves?
So when I was a product engineer, I did a lot of the engineering work on that, and then now I'm more on the application side and how they use and the system designs and requirements and the product management.
Didn't you just tell us that he's like, stuff? He's like, it was on the engineering team.
I was. That was many years ago. So
what? So you specialize in most of the CO2 application valves that are coming out, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm the product manager in charge of our electric valves, our ball valves, our solenoid valves are my main focus areas, along with our Zoom Lock product line.
Okay.
So you want to talk more so about your guys' high pressure valves?
Yeah, sure. So in the electric valve side, we have multiple products for basically CO2 rated. We have our pulse width SPW valve that's rated for 90 bar. It's a pulse modulating valve, ideal for some refrigeration CO2 systems. We also have our SCR HP series, which we only had the AA and the A size, and this year we're launching our B and C size SCR valves HP. So those are rated for 90 bar as well. So those are ideal for expansion devices for the evaporator in the CO2 system. So
what about the actual high pressure and flash gas bypass valves?
Yeah, so we have our gas cooler valve and our flash gas bypass valve. So those are 140 bar rated for the actual rack system on the rack itself. And then we are just now releasing our new GCM valve, which is a smaller version of our gas cooler valve. So our previous version was basically a 10, 20, 30, 40 size. And now this is kind of more on that smaller end. It's like a 5, 10, 15 size gas cooler valve.
So do they make a gas cooler valve that doesn't have to be TIG welded in? Like, do you guys have?
So our new one can be either TIG welded or it can be brazed with a K65 copper or high pressure copper. It can be brazed in that type.
So that's the valve that I remember looking at this last year. It's regular. It was regular steel, and then it had the brass head on the top, right?
So no, the GCM is basically all stainless steel construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So our previous gas cooler was like the stainless steel body or cast body, and then with the brass motor housing. The new one is all stainless steel connection, but it does have a removable motor head, so you could use the same body and change the motor and change your capacity if you need to change that down the line.
Is it a wet motor? Is it a wet stator?
Yeah, it's a wet stator motor. It's
so
integral to the valve.
Yeah. So on those valves, from my understanding, from what I've been told from other manufacturers, is that the ones with the wet stator, if you do have to pull a vacuum on that system, you want to pull the power going to that valve or kill the power going to that controller that powers that valve, because it'll actually short it out.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure, but it makes perfect sense to do that. Just an extra step to make sure you're good.
Yeah, it's similar to when you're pulling on a scroll compressor, right?
That makes sense.
You don't want that thing pulling into a vacuum for the for that very reason, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So,
what about your guys' flash gas bypass valves? Are you guys just using the standard CBS line for that, or do you guys have a standalone flash gas bypass?
So we do have our flash gas bypass valve. It's a FGV valve 1670, and also our GCM valve, the one that we just developed, it can be utilized as a flash gas bypass if it's a smaller size system, so you can utilize it as that. So it's really a multi-purpose function on that valve. So you use it as gas cooler or flash gas bypass, or holdback valve, a bunch of other applications for that specific valve. So it can be utilized as both.
Is that a 90 bar?
Yeah, no, actually that's the 140 bar.
140 bar?
Yeah, so it's for the rack size pressure. So it can be utilized as both. So.
Okay.
Is there a different valve that they use for, like, on some of the rack manufacturers, you'll see an SDR4. Now, is it that I don't think, are those rated for, what are those typically rated for? It's just the standard. I mean, because it's usually on the bypass, right?
Yeah, so the SDR valves are rated. I think they're much lower pressure. I think they might be only like 700 psi. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Yeah, but that's where the relief. I mean,
Yeah.
the relief's usually right at 650. So what
Yeah.
I'm asking it, so that's where that new valve comes into play. So if you have a total shutdown system,
Yeah.
it has the capability of having a very high bar
Yeah.
relief, and that's when you use the GSM.
GCM.
So close.
So close. So close. Just think of the gas cooler and then adding an M behind it. So there you go.
Man, do you want to go over the new solenoid valves, the high pressure rated ones I've seen over there?
So yeah, so we do like our standard solenoid valves for E3 through E10 sizes that they're rated up to 70 bar. So they've been out for a few years, our HP versions. So 70 bar, we have looked at it maybe long term going up, trying to get those up to 90 bar as well. But for today, they're 70 bar rated. So those are a lot of the lower side of the CO2 system. You can utilize those solenoid valves to that.
It's the there's a lot of talk in the industry about making it standard where everything's
Yeah.
going to have to either be 90 bar or 140 bar.
Yeah, that's correct.
In the States, we have I don't want to say a shortage, but I mean every time we try to get CO2 anywhere, they're like, yeah, 2 or 3 weeks, and
Mhm.
so with that, trying to not have a relief rupture so frequently.
Yep.
By spending that little bit of extra money, it might save you that extra service call where you're not popping that relief prematurely, and then you have that grace.
Yeah, and we've been hearing the same thing as well. So that's why, we're also designing some dynamic control products that up to those higher pressures as well. I'm not quite as familiar with those, but our goal is to try to get up to that 90 bar rating across the board because that's where more and more system designers are trying to head towards. So the other product I haven't brought up is our EBVPR, is our pressure relieving ball valve. So we've had it on the market for quite a long time, but these are ideal for isolating, the evaporator system. You put one on either side. That way, in case that segment that you're isolating does exceed the pressure differential too high, it will bleed that pressure back off into the remaining part of the system. So it's basically a one-way ball valve that isolates your evaporator, but allows, if there is a pressure increase, it bleeds that back off the deck. That way, you don't need safety release valves on that side of the system.
So I like those ball valves. The only thing that I have a problem with is that when you go to shut off a system and you go to open it the other way, then essentially you can't get that flow going in the way of the jet fuel, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times we'd have to put another service valve somewhere or grab vapor from somewhere else. Like we had to service the valve, right? So,
Dump it back in.
don't do it. Don't listen to him.
Sure.
Well, any other new products that you have coming out or in development that you can talk about?
I mean, like I said, we are working on some containment control products. I think, as far as I know, that's all that's kind of in the hopper for today. But I mean, we're always looking for more and more.
What about gas cooler bypass valves? I know a lot of manufacturers have been messing around and trying to play with this and using three-way valves to bypass the gas coolers in the wintertime.
So that was actually something maybe on a longer term plan, but yeah, we definitely could look into that. We do have our MTW valve that we use in our air conditioning segment today. Doesn't have the pressure ratings possible for CO2, but that is something we've looked at. What would it take to make that CO2 ready? So that could be a longer term plan. Maybe next AHR we'll have that out. So
Sounds good.
Any other questions for Mr. Freese here? Oh, Matt, I appreciate you coming on here, and I appreciate you, talking with us about what you guys got coming out. And live from AHR. Well, I guess we'll see you next time.